Hello, hello. Welcome to Bishop Chapter. It's the home stretch. I know I keep saying that, but it really is. This is going to be that huge blueprints video that I have talked about and talked about. So, the way I'm going to split this is I'm just going to go through each puzzle, probably in the order that I uploaded the commentaries for them. And we're just going to break down all the code, everything behind it, and yeah, I guess I'll just talk about whatever comes to mind at the time, but we're going to go pretty in depth. So familiar ground, we're back to Anubis. I think I've mostly covered this before, but it's probably been updated since, so we are going to have another look. So first of all, let's get into the level blueprint. And I'm also going to get the character blueprint up. Oh. Okay, so this boy is a mess. Well, I mean, I say mess, it's all pretty organized, but there's a lot going on. So, where to even begin? I know the event tick is here. Okay, this could do the tidying up. I encountered some issues with one of the puzzles, and yeah, spaghetti junction happened. Where is event begin play? Sure, that's around somewhere. Well, anyway, let's just talk about Anubis. Anyway, right. So none of this really pertains to Anubis right now. That's all going to be in this one. So what we got here, as soon as the level opens, got event begin play, cast the character, and then it runs game start, which is in the player character blueprint. So I'll show you that. It's right here. So the reason I've got it running remotely like this is because, okay, I remember now. When I had the event begin play node in here, it would spawn a HUD in the main menu, and I didn't want that, so I had to set it up so that it manually runs a game start sequence. There were also issues with the ambient sounds and the crickets and stuff playing during the main menu, which was not ideal. So I had to stop the game from running that immediately in the main menu, and instead I've just got it to yeah, so when the event begin play node is in here in the first person character, it applies to the main menu, not just the game level. So yeah, it was playing the crickets and creating a HUD and allowing the player to pause in the main menu. So yeah, either way, so what that does is creates the HUD, creates the pause menu, the inventory menu, and the inspection widget, which I think I've talked about before, but we will go into it again. And that's the game start sequence. Next, we cast to the Anubis puzzle. That's a copy, right? Yeah. So Anubis test is the blueprint that we want to go into. So it's this one. Right, this hasn't changed from when I've shown it before. We will quickly run through it. So we have a couple variables, the target weight and the target ball count, and all this does is just render the text in the here. So we've got text render weight, text render balls, and those are being controlled. So the text is being set on the render balls by whatever this is picking up from this variable, and I've set this variable at zero for this one, but then the player does affect it when they press the buttons. Let's have a look. So let's pick the bishop button. Each button has its own blueprint, and it's basically a copy of this code. So when the button is pressed, sets it to pressed, freezes play for 2.5 seconds, then it gives it delay, and then it unpresses the button. So the reason I do this is because I didn't want the player to be able to keep spamming the button because it interrupts the ball rolling animation, which happens down here. Oh no, this is the button press animation. And again, another delay because players could spam the button and mess up the sequence. And then, is the jail door open? If it's not, send the ball rolling. And this takes about 6.5 seconds before it drops into the basin. So each button has a blueprint that looks like this, but it just runs a different animation for the respective button and then the respective ball animation. So going back to this, target balls, I think it's set in here. There's so many variables in the player character. I basically built the whole thing inside that one. It's just the Anubis jail door, ball button pressed. I think it's just this, it's just not been set. Oh yeah, of course the target weight is 0 and the target balls are 0. But there must be system resetting. Oh, I see. So let's see if I've labeled it anyway. Add heard, line trace. Oh, there's so much stuff I can't even find it. I've shown it before anyway. There's an old video for Anubis that I covered all this in. A lot of this is just the default stuff anyway. What's this? It's the beacon. Okay, well anyway. It's gotta be a Oh, is it in? No, this is a different thing. Oh, I'm so confused. Oh yeah, this is the tracing interaction. Okay. Oh, it's right here. Oh, it's right here. Okay. Okay, so we cast to Anubis, we set Anubis, and then we set... Yes, this is it. So we get the variable from Anubis test, and we set the target weight to 62, target balls to 7, and then that comes back into this graph here, and then this has been set, and then it sets it to text, and the text is rendered in the correct spot on the model, and then it's constantly updated as we go, because the balls then interact with these and deduct the appropriate amount from them. Cool. Okay. That's that. Number 5. This is just making sure that so Unreal Engine has this annoying thing where when you start the game the cursor is still kind of visible until you click the actual game. It's very annoying because it happens in pause menus as well. So if you were in the game and then you paused, you could hover the cursor over the options, but they wouldn't register until you clicked once to end, like sort of like confirming that you are in the pause menu. It's like clicking onto the pause menu to confirm you're in it, and it's this just essentially disables that, so the game just chucks you straight in. Yep. Okay. So elsewhere we have good old eventic for Anubis. So this is actually redundant now. I was trying to go for making a big trigger box inside a building to show that the player was inside, and then it'd be slightly muting the ambient nature sounds. But I couldn't get that to work because there was no event tick on the nature sound. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Down here. So I tried to adjust it here. Where is it? Yeah. So I tried to set the ambient nature volume to 0.2 to affect the sound, but because there's no event tick, this is just a custom event that's only run on command, so it's just run the once, so it just sets this to run on a loop, and it just sets it the once. You can't go back to this and modify it. So this just wasn't affected by any code that was present here. And if I did run this off an event tick, it would just constantly loop. So the first note would just play constantly. It's like starting the song every second, layering on top of each other. It's just a wall of sound. So I probably could have figured that out. I mean, thinking about it now, I could have created a custom event that would essentially stop the sound and restart it at the desired volume. But it's too late for that now anyway. So this is redundant, and I didn't really go back to using the inside a building stuff, which is down here. I only set it up for Anubis and I just didn't use it. So it's useless code. Okay, going off the number 1, we've got so it's defining if both of these sides equal 0. So we cast to Anubis to the target balls equals 0, and does the target weight equal 0? If that is true, then we set the puzzle to balanced. If it is false, we keep it as not balanced. And this seems to be defined in here. But nothing happens. I imagine it's in the jail door blueprint. Let's have a look. It is not. I guess it just plays an animation. It's got to be a check if it's balanced. If it is, no, it's the wrong thing. No results found. I'm sure we'll stumble across it. Right. So then we check out of balls. If that is true, then we run the Anubis Reset. So that's if the target balls drops below 0. And then we run the Anubis Reset to just essentially reset the puzzle. So it just resets the balls and the target weight, and it says we're no longer out of balls, and then it turns off system resetting. So that again factors into the text up here. System resetting. Again, it says it's for the player character. Is it in the event tick? Oh god, we're gonna go into this. Right, anyway. This is all it's redundant. Okay, and then we're on to the ball values. So obviously there are 5 different ball materials. Each one has its own stats. There are much easier ways to do this that I didn't know about at the time that I did this, and I have since learned. But for the sake of this, I'm not going to change it because it works. Cast to each ball, and then we determine how much weight it takes off the target weight score. So yeah, begin overlap. So there's a box trigger for the wood, and if the ball overlaps it, then it deducts 3 of the target weight on the trusty board. And then you've got it deducting balls as well. So each ball deducts 1 from the balls, because each ball is 1 ball, except for rubber, which runs a reset. So the system is resetting. Again, this is all stuff I've been through before. God, this is old code that I've not looked at in a while. So it's almost like new to me, you know? This is just me testing. Yeah, OP testing. So it's just a debugging thing, and essentially it was one ball that would deduct half of the target weight and half of the target balls. So I just need to send 2 of these down and it would complete the puzzle. Cool, I mean that's basically Anubis. I can't remember where it runs the animation to open the jail door. It's not over here. It's got to be in some random blueprint somewhere. Oh, you know, I know exactly where it is. It's in the enter button. So this is the button that confirms everything, essentially. Jesus. So it's the button you press when, where are we? When you want to confirm that the sides are balanced. So when you press this and the sides are not balanced, the puzzle doesn't complete. But when you press it and it's balanced, obviously it does complete. So that's basically what all this code is doing. I kind of wish I'd commented this off. We can do it now, I guess. Let's do one to check if it's balanced. So either way it freezes play. Oh, freezes for 0. Oh, I guess because it does nothing, you can just spam the button. Then it runs this one. So it's the console button press 6 animation. It's just the button press animation, nice and easy. Play, little delay, a stop, then a delay, and then it gets reset. So you can do it again. And then it runs this code down here. Is the jail door already open? No. If it's already open, then this button does nothing. It just runs the press animation. So if the jail door is closed, which it will be if you're doing the puzzle, then it comes down here. Are the numbers balanced? If false, then nothing happens. You just press the button. But if the numbers are balanced, then you're going to run the jail door open animation, which is just the string here. Nice little delay before the pause, otherwise the animation just auto loops. Oh, rather than looping, sorry, it resets to how it starts. So the jail door starts closed, the animation would open it, and once the open animation were done, it would just jump back to being closed. So I had to determine how long to delay it before I can pause it, where the door is open enough for the player to go through, but the animation's not far enough through that it's reset to being closed, if that makes sense. I basically had to do this with most of the animations in the game. A lot of trial and error, because obviously everything has a different length, and the timeline is measured in frames rather than time. So it's just, yeah, it's just a case of trial and error, or if you're good at math. And then it runs this, do once the Anubis bookcase animation. So you've seen that one, it's this bad boy here. So it actually starts in this position, and when you press the button to confirm, this door opens and this bookcase swings that way. This is so the player sees this little path and discovers the console before they're allowed out into the map. the lights are off in this room, so the player doesn't immediately see the switch that moves the bookcase. All of the light is coming from out here, basically. So I guess your average player would go out there. And then there's a light switch on the wall, and then you can discover the immediate room and eventually the lever that allows access to the game, basically. And then finally, freezes play, just so you can't get caught in the door or anything like that. There's a lot of stupid things that players could do to interrupt animations, so I've basically freeze play for almost everything. And then we set the jail door to open, and that's where it's defined. You know, I never would have found that if we didn't get this far into the code breakdown. So yeah, and then essentially the player is free to roam this room. Then the player can pick up the Anubis trophy. Let's have a look in here. Nice and simple. Interact. Player has statue Anubis. Destroy the statue. That's essentially the case as well with the chess pieces and with the comic pages. It's just telling the game that the player now has them and then destroying the active from the map. So sneak peek of the comic there. This comic's actually going to be online soon. I'll probably link to it when it is. Keep an eye on the Instagram channel story and posts. I've not been able to work on this comic basically because of this game. So when the game is done, as of tomorrow night, I'll go back to the comic after I take a short break. Okay, right, anyway, that was a tangent. We don't want to do that. Let's come down here. So all these drawers and cupboards and stuff have basically the same sort of code. So when you interact, it checks if the door is open. If it's not open, it sets it to open, and it freezes play, and then runs the open animation. And again, it's got a really specific delay before the pause, and I think the reason for that is because when it would open and it would pause in the open position, when you interact again, it plays the reverse animation, but what it does is it jumps to the final frame of the open animation before it plays it, so it can look a bit jarring if the open animation isn't paused in the right place. This is a rare case. I obviously didn't have to do this with the jail door because it only opens once, but this is something you can open and close and open and close, so it had to stop at a good enough place that the close animation was seamless. So that's why this is so specific. Again, trial and error before I found that value. And then you got the flip side where is the door open? Yes, the door is open, so we set it to not open, and then we run the reverse animation. So it's the same animation, but you play in reverse. Same delay, and then a pause, and that pause then sets it to this position, so that when you interact again, it just, yeah, seamless. And it's the same with the drawers. The document tumbler is an interesting one. So it's not my code. I used a tutorial to set it up because it's very complex. But I essentially set up this is wrong. This is an alternate thing that I found. Okay. Is it time to go into the tumbler stuff? Yeah, why not? So. Right. Oh boy, okay. So this is all the tumble stuff. Basically, all of this, all of this, and oh, some stuff down here. Yeah, here. So it's probably easier if I go back to the event tick and just explain what's going on here. So this all comes from the event tick. Has the music started? So let's just jump quickly to outside the room. There's a little trigger box here. And when this is walked into, the opening credits trigger, it creates the opening credits widget, adds to viewport, and that's the end credits. There should be a credits finished playing. This gets defined somewhere after the opening credits play. Okay, so essentially this bit here, it's just the pause game string, but I didn't want pausing to be possible before the player left through here. So that's what's essentially happening here. Is have the opening credits played? Yes. If not, then pausing does absolutely nothing. So if yes, it checks if the game is paused already. If it is, it just unpauses. If it's not, it checks if the inventory is open. If it is, it closes the inventory and then pauses. If not, it just pauses, because there was an issue actually in the last Anubis video right at the end where I managed to bug out both of the menus. So this is my fix for it right here. Only like 2 months later. I actually did this like yesterday, before I packaged the game, because I remembered it was something I had to fix. Right, anyway, it also starts the music. So when the music is called to be started, it just plays the theme once. Gotta have this do once in here, otherwise the event tick will just layer this out like a wall of sound. Cool, and then running off the event tick even still is this one. So I had an issue where when you were examining documents, you could see the outline of the document through the document, and that's because of this line tracing thing, where the line trace was, when you were rotating the document, the line trace was slipping through and it was highlighting the document again. So I just basically said that if any of the documents in the game are being inspected, there's no trace. And this slips into the code then, where I followed the tutorial. So this is all, looking at it, I can't break it down and explain it to you. There is a video for it that I followed that sets all of this up. It's basically everything you see here. All of this, and it's just setting a variable to make things interactable. So I'll show you what I mean. So let's take this this @n button. So we've got this, you've probably seen this a few times now. It's this little blueprint thing on event interact. This is not a node that's in the engine. This is a defined node, and it stems from things being interactable. So essentially you would select the static mesh, you'd come down to collision, and you'd go custom, and then there's an option interactable. This doesn't exist in the engine on its own. This comes from this. So I've essentially created an option in the collision dropdown. And when things are interactable, there's another thing that's defined called an interaction interface. And when that's applied to an object, it allows me to do this. So this is running on basically anything that can be highlighted and interacted with in the game. So was it the @n button? We'll go into that probably when I do @n, but essentially it's the standard, like, is it pressed? If not, then now it's pressed. If it is pressed, now it's not pressed. Yeah, we'll go into this in @n. That's too much for this video. Cool. Anyway, ignore all this. I talked about the document tumbler before, and we had the big tower. Make this the base tower for all interactables, and I think I had down here somewhere work out a better system. And this was my attempt at working out a better system. It was having a single mesh, a single document mesh. No, that's not it. A single document mesh, and setting a material on that mesh from a database of documents, which I will try to find because that's still there. It's got to be here. There's the interaction interface. Documents. Ah, here we go. So let's wait for these to load in. There's a data table where I tried out a few of the documents. So document 1 was Anubis invoice, and I defined a material from the document list. So there'd be a document name, which is a string, document ID, which is an integer, and then a material, which is a material. And this was drawn from to create this data table, where I was essentially trying to compile every document in the game, and then each one would have its own texture. And then when a document was interacted with, it would look at the ID. So for example, if I click on this document here, you can see it added this stuff here on the right from the document data table. So I can specify in here what the document is called, what the ID number is, what the material should be. So then when the player interacts with this document, it just assigns that material on the spot. But unfortunately this didn't work, and I'm not too sure why. I had to do it twice because there's a document on the table, and then there's one that's in front of the player that is rendered visible. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So this is the player character, and you can see all of the documents in the game are right in front of the character's face, but they're all invisible. So let's take the notebook. If I set this visible, there it is. It's constantly just hovering in front of the camera for the entire game, but it's invisible. And essentially, when you interact with this, it sets it visible. And then it's interactable, you can spin it around. But I didn't want this. I didn't want there to be just a ton of documents flying around in front of the character's face. I wanted one mesh, and for that mesh to for you to be able to set where the hell is it? A texture, a material on that mesh instantly when you interact with the correct ID. But it didn't work. I mean, it worked for a little bit. It was up and running, but it was really buggy. It would just mess up sometimes for no reason. Like, I wouldn't even change the code. I'd go back in to test something else, and I'd interact with the document, and it would just be broken for no reason, having been totally fine the last time I checked it. So eventually I gave up, and this is dead code that's just still here. So this is the actual system I went with, was just having it all in front of the player's face. It's a crude solution, but it does the job. And then so the Anubis invoice sets the inspection for the document Anubis invoice, which is over in this massive tower. It is here. So it runs this code. Is the game paused? No. Then it's been inspected, and then it runs this. And this is down here. So it casts, well, it doesn't cast actually because I didn't need this node. But the player controller, essentially, you show the mouse, you enable mouse over events, you bring up the inspection widget, which is this bad boy, just says exit. But this has its own tower, which is, whoa, super organized. God, look at that. That's beautiful. So there's a fly up animation for the exit button. Probably for the entire panel, actually. And in a pre-construct, I set this backwards at 1000 speed. Otherwise, because of the Z orders, you can't click anything because this menu's just there, just invisible. On-clicked exit button. Okay, so this is to uninspect, which runs the other code that you saw. Oh god, I've got too many things open. Let's just quickly go back to this first. So the inspection widget. Set input mode game and UI. That's that thing I was talking about before, where it makes it so you don't have to click into it. It just puts you straight in. So instead of having to click the document first before you can spin it around, it now just spins when you drag because of this node. Ignore move input, ignore look input, so it just disables movement and camera. And then it essentially pauses the game. And it sets the visibility of the document from here. Sets that visible. And there's a plane as well. It's called a plane, but it's actually a sphere. And it's just a sort of low opacity black sphere that just dims the background behind the document. It's really subtle. You probably didn't even notice it if you saw it. But yeah, it sets that visible. And then it gets the fly up animation from the inspection widget. And it plays that for the exit button. And then going back to it, when you click the exit button, then when you're done, so it runs this massive tower of chaos, as I've named it. even though it's not so much chaos anymore. So it takes the Anubis invoice inspected. If that's true, then it sets it to not true, and it runs the uninspect code, which is just above. So this just does the opposite that happens down here. It hides the cursor, it sets it back from this to the normal one. It makes it so you can move and look around again, and pauses the game, and then it hides the sphere and the document, and then it gets rid of the widget. Just does everything backwards. And so this block here, this massive thing, that is for a single document in the game. It's got stuff up here as well, if you remember. Anubis invoice, that's for it as well. And so each document has to have its own set of these. So it ends up being just an insane amount of nodes. And that's not all. If you come over here as well to this mess, this is to do with the tumble, which is when you're dragging around the document, it spins around and rotates, and you can check the back and flip it around. So in the event tick, it checks if the tumble is active, and then it runs another bunch of stuff for each document. So it's not over. So for the Anubis invoice, if that's the one being inspected, true, then we follow this line down. Set world rotation of the document. So we get it, combine rotators, and then we've got this get mouse X, get mouse Y. We set the speed. We multiply it, then multiply this with the speed, and then the Y, we multiply that with the speed. And then we make the rotator, combine that with the world rotation, and then we set it. So each time the mouse drags on it, it's just basically resetting the world rotation in real time, which is how the tumble works. And so this is the one for the Anubis invoice tumble. Then we've got exactly the same bunch of code, but for Sammy's note. And that runs off this one. Is Sammy's note being inspected? Nope. If not, then is Tam's letter being inspected? If it is, then it's the same bunch of code again. And there's essentially another box for each document again. With 2 sheet musics. Aten notebook. Oh, that was a recent addition. Aten notebook. Tumble. So yeah, that's basically how that works, and that's the document tumbler. Massive ordeal to set up, and in the inspection tower again, each document has its own thing, and it's annoying because the player character has to plug into the variable again, and then it has to plug into the function. So that's the Tower of Chaos. We can close this. We're done with Anubis. That's the Anubis invoice. We're done with the document tumbler. Done the desk door. Oh jeez, what a mess. Pause game, pause game. Let's go back to the event tick down here. So this is again interaction. And the line trace. Yeah, we've covered all this. Line trace interaction. So this is setting the what is this saying? Mouse interact. I think it's just the white line that comes up. on everything that gets interacted with. Again, this is something that I followed from a tutorial video. On my YouTube channel there is a big playlist of every single video I used when I was making this game, and this video is on there. I can't remember which one it is though. Jeez, it's just like gibberish to me right now. Why is that so low? Get velocity. This is nothing. These are all default stuff that I just don't use. Jump. I got rid of the jump straight away. Got rid of the spawn projectile straight away. Unlock everything. I think I've shown that before. Seen that. Oh, the torch is in this room, isn't it? This one here. So easy enough. Same again. When you interact with the torch, the players collect the torch, and then the torch gets destroyed. And then if the torch is collected, which was defined just then, if that's true, then pressing F renders the visibility of the torch, depending on if it's already visible. So if the torch is not visible, then that's the visibility. Yeah, it works either way. Open close inventory, or inventory, however you say it. Have the open credits played? If true, then pressing the inventory key, which is I, opens the inventory, which is this string down here. So it sets the inventory open, sets the game paused, plays the animation of the inventory flying in. Then it sets the player controller's mouse cursor to be shown. It enables mouse over events. You can't move or look around. And then it opens the inventory widget. And it does that thing again where you don't have to click into it. You can just go straight in. The game just throws you in. And then the flip side is the close. Well, that's not going to work, is it? That better not be in the build of the game. So I've recently, when I was trying to fix the pause menu, this was initially one custom event called open/close inventory, which I guess was what was up here. But now it's just running that. No. I might have to put a new build of the game up. Bear with me. That's annoying. That's really annoying, actually. That's annoyed me. Let's just quickly check. Open credits played. Let's set this to true. And quickly jump into the game. So I'm up here a second. I P. Yeah, there's this weird issue where oh, let me just turn this down. Game's a bit loud, isn't it? Yeah, so there's a weird issue where depending on where you're pointing when you open the pause menu, the menu opens with like a weird gap. So I'm looking up. Look at that, it's like a strange gap. If I look down, see, look at that. The more up I look, the better the menu looks. And then if I look all the way down, oh, it looks good there. So what is with this gap? I don't know. I tried to figure it out, but I couldn't. Inventory I doesn't work, which is good because that was the issue before. Gallery's locked, pages are locked. Okay, I might need to upload a new build of the game with this new code, because that is pretty annoying if it's broken. Let me just, it was this, wasn't it? Let's just see if you get stuck in the inventory menu. Oh, look, the widget's like down there. What's going on? Oh no. Yeah, you get stuck in the inventory. That's in the build of the game that's online. That's very annoying. Inventory open, true, close. Okay, that looks fine. I will sort that out after this video. It's just my work's never done, is it? Anyway, moving on from that, we're still sort of covering Anubis somewhat because it's just the starting section of the game, and I'm giving you all the base stuff as well. This is redundant. Second paused. Could this be where the issue lies with the pause menu? What's this? Go away. Unpause game. Pause game. Jeez. Just don't need that. Pause game. We play the animation of appear, disappear. Fade deco, fade buttons. Whatever. Anyway, freeze play. We've done that. This is defining tumble active. Oh yeah. So because the tumble active, whenever that's true, it runs that code where it turns it. And this is basically saying that whenever the left mouse button is pressed, tumble is active, but if you let go, it's not active. So that's how you get the dragging rotation going on, because it's picking up. This keeps getting ticked and unticked and ticked, ticked. So that's pretty cool. That's how you're able to rotate the documents. I just love how that works. It's probably one of my favorite things that's ended up being in the game. yeah, I think that's gonna about do it for Anubis. Oh, we done the light switch? Interact. Are the lights on? If they're not on, then now they are. Animates the switch. Another really specific time thing. 0.07. Oh, and then more delay down here. Enable input. So all this does is flicks the light switch on and off. That's so funny that I've put that in. And then you got the lights up here. These are both merged into a blueprint. So if the light switch has been pressed, then it sets both the spotlights to be visible. Then if it's pressed again to turn the lights off, then it sets them to invisible. I was going to implement lights like this in most of the buildings in the game, but I just didn't have time. What else we got going on? Oh yeah, the chessboard. We'll finish up on that. So, I've shown this before actually. I vaguely remember like setting visibility on the bishops. So, there's a bishop there, and there's a bishop there, and they're invisible by default. Oh, I closed it. Eventually there will be, my intention was to have every chess piece on a chessboard there, but invisible, and then when you collect the pieces as you go around the game, when you place them, it just sets them visible on the board. That's basically what's happening. So if you've got bishop 1, and bishop 1 is not already placed, that's true, then bishop 1 is now placed, and it sets the white bishop to visible. And then when you interact again, this should run through to false then, because bishop 1 is already placed. Then it checks if bishop 2 is collected. If it is it not already placed? And if both of those are true, then it is now placed and it's set to visible on bishop 2. It's very simple. And there was going to be a line like this for each chess piece, so another massive wall. Maybe at some point down the road I'll add all the chess pieces in, but I just didn't have time. Cool. I think I'm going to end on that one. Oh, mind you, trigger wood. These are all the trigger boxes for the balls. The balls are. I wonder if you can see them. There you go. There's a ball there. Just hover inside, then the animation drops it down. Okay. Should we do the console quickly? No, I'll get to that when I do Konsu. Yeah, great. That will actually do for now. Where is the panel? No. Anubis. There it is. Console cover, not panel. Okay. That looks fine. That looks doable. Okay, let's bring him down. I'll just get this guy back in the right place and then I'll wrap up. Cool. Cool. Right. Let's get them centered. Yeah, bad size. There we go. It's that bar. Bring it back. Okay. Right, well, that was over an hour, and that was only the first puzzle. However, we did go into a lot of other stuff, like I don't have to go through the tumble documents again. So what we might try to do in the next episode is do 2 in 1 and try and go for a similar length, and then that's half the puzzles covered in 2 hours. So unfortunately I think I'm going to have to package this game again. What do I keep saving? Yeah, so thanks for joining for this episode. It's been a long time coming. Some meaty blueprint stuff. I know this is probably so boring for anyone who's not like into it. But yeah. Cool. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.